Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video about wild camping. I'm in my tent in the woods. It's pretty wet, but I'm dry and warm. It's not a bad night, and it's winter, it's January, so it's pretty cold. So stay tuned, see what I've got to say about wild camping. So I'm in the woods, the area that I've scouted on the map. There's quite a lot of big trees around and a lot of dead standing, so I'm trying to find somewhere there's not that much dead standing and it's quite flat. It's hard to find a good campsite, a good spot, but keep looking. I'm sure there'll be something that ticks at least some of the boxes and is going to be relatively safe. So I'm looking for that at the moment. This area is not too bad. It's got quite a lot of brush and lower trees that have fallen, but there's quite a lot of willow, and that tends to split and can break off as well. The other areas I'm looking at, there's a whole load of big trees though. So just trying to find somewhere where there's no dead standing, something that's going to be flat. Okay, this is the spot I'm going to pick. It's not ideal. There's a lot of big trees, but there's no dead standing and it's quite flat. The rain's coming in now though, so I'm going to get us set up as quick as I can. Hopefully that will all come out on film, we'll see. It's been walking around for too long, really trying to find the ideal spot, and frankly, that ideal spot doesn't really exist. I'm going to have to cover the camera up. I'd hope to show you this setup, but the rain's coming in now. It's not going to be good for the camera, so unfortunately you'll have to see that another time. Hi everyone, it's Saturday night and I'm in the tent for the first time in quite a while actually. I left really late from the house, left about 3:30, didn't get up here until sort of 4:45. It gets dark about 10 to 5, something like that at the moment, so pretty late getting up really, and in all honesty didn't leave enough time. I'm going to say that as one of my tips, is leaving enough time to find a spot, but this is an area I've sort of been to before, thought I'd found some spots when I actually started properly looking for somewhere. So I'm looking for somewhere that's a bit flat, but most importantly I'm looking for somewhere where there's no dead standing, and there's just loads of it. Even where I've pitched now, I just ran out of time completely. Found some other spots, they looked okay, but turns out there was either, a lot of ash there that, well, as it turned out, it was kind of pointless because I'm underneath ash as we speak. Well, near ash that doesn't look too healthy. So the winds are not high tonight, which is good, but I am, I'm nervous about it. I'm in a beach glade as well, so yeah, widowmakers. The only thing is I'm not under any things with like big branches, so I've tried to pick somewhere as safe as I can, but in a forest with so much mixed woodland, it's just almost impossible to find anything perfect, and when you do, you know that space and you lock it and you go back there all the time. So I know there's a spot that I've used before, but it's been, someone else has found it and totally trashed it, so it's just not a place that I can go to again, which is a real shame because I found that place probably 25 years ago when I was out with mates and no one found it. I went back, a couple of years back, and no one had been there. It was exactly as we left it, including like a fire. We didn't do leave no trace at that time really. We were only kind of 17-year-old kids, so kind of crazy, but no one found it, no one used it. We used it a bit with our kids, but that place has been decimated, so that's no good. So here I am in my tent. I'm in a Zephyrus 2, which claims to be a 2-man tent, but probably you can see there's not a huge amount of space. If you want to have any sort of comfort, it's a bit snug. So I would say it's 1.5, or in my case a big one because I'm 6'3", and a bit of space for my luggage and my gear, and my shoes outside in the little porch. So I mean, I really like this as a tent. Main drawbacks, it's not got a lot of headroom, so I'm kind of crouched here, which is not ideal, but it's light, it's cheap, it goes up really quick, and it's in and out of pitch, so in the pouring rain you literally just kind of peg it out and you're in and you're done and everything's out the way. So in a situation like tonight where I just didn't leave enough time to get pitched, it was godsend because I'm up, I'm in the dry, I'm pretty comfy, apart from clearing out a few beech nuts underneath, and trying to get some sleep, worrying about whether or not a big tree's going to come crashing down on me, I think it'd be pretty good. So a tip for me when while camping is to make sure you stay organised. There's limited space in a tent and it's difficult to find what you need. I tend to keep all my stuff in dry bags, firstly because it keeps everything dry, but secondly it makes it easy to find things. I have a lot of dry bags that are the same colour, so what I've done is use paracord just to help me identify what's in each one. In this case, I've got a first aid kit, so I know that in my yellow bag with a red tag, that's my first aid kit. As I'm first aid trained, I generally carry this every time I go out, not just for me, but for those people that get injured. And people getting injured actually happens a lot more often than you would think. I've been to some fairly serious incidents, and I've been the one with the first aid kit, and no one else has had one. So another tip from me would be about staying warm. It's January, and it's raining. It's going to be pretty cold tonight, but not really cold, so not into minus figures. But I'm prepared in case it is. So I've got some dry clothes with me as spares. So what I've got on is lots of layers. I've got a thin base layer that wicks away moisture, a mid layer that also removes moisture, and then a fleece layer. And at the moment a waterproof shell because I've just come in from outside, and it also provides quite a bit of warmth. In addition to that, in my bag I've also got a down jacket which is thin and light and also provides a lot of warmth, as well as, if needed, topping up my sleeping bag. So the rain's really beginning to come in now. I can hear it quite heavily. In fact, my tent's open, not a good move. So it's not very late, it's only about 20 past 5, so there's a lot of hours for me being in this tent. With the weather like this, it's already dark, there's nothing really to do. So I've got a book and I've got a few treats just to kind of keep me entertained while the night goes on. So staying insulated from the ground is really important, and I'm using a thermarest which I'm sitting on at the moment to help keep the cold from coming through. They're really good, and there's lots of different types. There's inflatable ones and there's ones with foam. This one's a foam one, and it's a bit bulky, which is the main negative of it, but actually it's really warm and I've used it in many different situations. So fortunately the rain's now stopped and I'm just cooking myself some tea with the tent open, which obviously I couldn't do with the rain coming down. Wind's picked up a bit and it's got a bit colder in the tent, so I've got my down jacket on, I've got my woolly hat, I'm nice and cosy in my sleeping bag, just staying nice and warm. Tent is, I found, a lot better for keeping that warmth in than, you know, a tarp and a bivvy bag, but which is why sometimes I like to use it in the winter. I'm just cooking up some tea. Tea tonight is some onion and some pepper mixed up with some chorizo and some tomato sauce just to give it a bit of flavour, and mixed in with a whole load of fresh wholemeal grains. That's going to give me plenty of energy for the rest of the night and for the walk home tomorrow. I've got a few treats. I have eaten a few of my chocolate treats as it's been pretty boring actually sitting in a tent, but I've got a book and I'm nice and warm, so what more can you ask for? Thinking about my cook pot, so I've just finished it. It's a bit of some of the food and stuff has maybe come out the sides. I don't want to put this in with my other stuff, so just a simple compost bag is what I've got here, food composting bag. I'm just going to wrap up my tin in that. So by using a compost bag, you could use a plastic bag, but obviously, you know, we're trying to cut down on the amount of plastic we use nowadays. This composting bag works just as well, and it's going to keep anything that's got on the outside of the pot, if you're cooking over an open fire, for example, the soot, any spillages from the food you've got, just keep it off your gear. And it's a really handy way of just containing everything that you want in one place and keeping your stuff as clean as possible. So one of the things I've noticed from when I'm out wild camping, especially if I've had a long day either riding or hiking and I'm quite tired, is once you're set up, you're in the warm, you've got your woolly hat, down jacket, you're sitting in the sleeping bag, the tendency is that you want to just go to sleep and wake up in the morning, not bother eating. And I think that's a big mistake, because after all that exercise, you really got to put some fuel back in your body. So take the time to eat some food, cook, get into some dry clothes if you've been sweaty, get nice and warm, get comfortable, but make sure you fuel yourself as well. The temptation is just to get in, go to sleep, crash out, and you'll regret that in the morning if you've got a follow-on day of hard exercise. So that's me for the night. It's quite late now, definitely time to go to sleep. I'm gonna get cozy in my sleeping bag, do up all my baffles, get my hood up. I'll see you all in the morning. Night, see you all in the morning. Hi guys, it's about 5:30 in the morning. It's still dark outside. I've had to be up, I've had to go to the toilet, so I take my little travel spade with me. Unfortunately, I slipped when I was using it and my finger got caught between the handle and where the body meets it and just took a bit of a chunk out my hand. So, although not bad, it's a good reason why I carry a first aid kit. Little small issues like this can be dealt with quickly. So I'm just going to put some antiseptic wipe around the whole area and then cover it up with a plaster. That'll prevent any infection and also hold the cut closed for a bit. It's not deep, but it's worth dealing with straight away. There you go, all dealt with. And while I've got the antiseptic wipe, might as well clean up the rest of my hands as well. A really good piece of advice is to let people know where you're going before you go on a trip. In my case, my wife knows where I am, she knows the area that I'm going to be in and where I'm roughly going to camp. So if she doesn't hear from me within a certain period of time, she'll know to come looking for me or to try and send some help. But one of the things I forgot to do, and it's following one of my own pieces of advice really, was to check my equipment before I went. In this case, the light that I'm using up here to provide some light for filming also is supposed to double as a charger, but I didn't check that function. I just grabbed a cable and just assumed it would be okay. As it happens, it's not. It doesn't charge my phone, and therefore I've got a flat phone. That's not a good situation to be in in case there's an emergency situation. So my advice would be, always check the kit for the function you intend to use it for before you go. So as you can hear, the rain's back. Not great. We're going to be forced with packing up in the rain. Not an ideal situation. And in a fairly snug tent like this, there's not much room to move around, especially with everything kind of laid out. So I'm going to have to spend some time packing up. I'm going to try and do as much of that packing up as I can before I get out of the tent. And the very last thing I'll do is drop the tent, try and find somewhere for my bags to sit while they're dry, because it doesn't look like this rain's going to stop anytime soon. So if you like what you've seen, please consider subscribing. There should be a link down here that says subscribe. If you want to see more of this videos and this type of thing, please let me know in the comments, and I'll be doing more of this type of thing as the year goes on. It's not everyone's cup of tea being out in the woods on your own, but honestly I've never had any issues, and it's a good night. I shouldn't have said that, really shouldn't have said it's not happening, because tonight will be the night that an axe murderer comes along and kills me. Really, it's going to happen tonight. So if you find this tape and I'm dead, it's because I said nothing ever happens. Alright? Okay, done, fine. There's a lot of hours to go before my normal bedtime. Makes me sound like I'm getting in my PJs. And safely do it, so I get crushed by a tree. Oh. And hopefully I'll see you soon out in the wild. Or not, because then you'll be in where I want to be and you might be a crazy axe murderer, and that'd be really weird.